Is Logan Paul lying about Prime? So we're gonna react along to this food theory video. They got like 5 million subscribers and like they just dismantled Prime. Let's see what they say about it.
Flavor than all the other sports drinks. Again, something felt off about this. Something keeps feeling off about this stuff. What is it? So I went back to the nutrition label again, and that's when it hit me. Look again at the comparison of the electrolytes. Sure, Gatorade has 300 milligrams and Prime has over 800, but the way—
So they're talking about total electrolytes right now. Electrolytes mean sodium, potassium, magnesium usually in reference to sports drinks, but there's a lot of different types of electrolytes. There's calcium, manganese, there's tons. So when somebody says there's a bunch of electrolytes, which electrolytes are they talking about? Because we want sodium, potassium, magnesium in terms of athletic performance.
100, but the way they get to those numbers is vastly different. Prime has 10 milligrams of sodium, 124 of magnesium, and a whopping 700 milligrams of potassium. Gatorade—
That is the dumbest ratio ever. In what we basically lose is sodium, potassium, magnesium. We lose about 3.5 milligrams of sodium to 1 milligram of potassium in human sweat. And then we lose a little bit of magnesium as well, a little tiny bit of calcium, but I think most people can get that from their diet. But this is a dumb ratio. Sure, you could say it has a lot of electrolytes, but it's just loaded up. It's basically a potassium beverage.
Gatorade, meanwhile, has 80 milligrams of potassium and 270 milligrams of sodium. The ratio—
Gatorade has no magnesium. That is so dumb. We know about the benefits of magnesium. We've probably seen a million videos on the benefits of magnesium. To put no magnesium in an electrolyte formula for athletes is just dumb, but magnesium is expensive when it's in its good form. So, you know, we have magnesium glycinate in our Santa Cruz Pale electrolytes, and it's not cheap. So I understand, I guess, why Gatorade does that to cut corners, but yeah.
Here is almost completely reversed. That is why you're getting a salty flavor from all these other sports beverages. Logan's Prime has 70 times as much potassium as sodium. Gatorade, meanwhile, has a ton of sodium and a teeny tiny amount of potassium. Powerade, same ratios as Gatorade. So I had to keep looking. Body Armor, another top contender in our taste test, is closer to Prime. BioSteel, the one with the juice—
Yeah, I mean, when you want an electrolyte beverage just to taste good, you're not gonna put a lot of sodium in it. Now, I do think a lot of people are coming around and realizing that they sort of crave that sodium, that salt when they're working out hard. But for many, just like, you know, I mean, come on, he's selling these drinks to like 8-year-olds. You've seen my video with a lot of people, little kids with Prime, like, we think it hydrates us. They just sort of want something sweet. It's what you want when you're a child, and he's marketing towards children. My drink is for athletes. But yeah, let's look at some other beverages.
Boxes came in with a completely different ratio than all the others with equal amounts of potassium and sodium. So that then brings us to what's probably the biggest—
I've done videos on BioSteel before. I think it's a pretty good option. I don't think it has enough sodium, as we see there, but pretty good option, especially compared to those other drinks right there.
Question in all of this: what is the proper ratio for all these electrolytes? Is this the thing that's been nagging me about Prime all along? Well, it's important to note that each electrolyte is responsible for something different. Sodium, which we get mostly from common table salt, is the most prevalent, and it basically exists in all the spaces outside and around your cells to help you regulate blood pH and your overall water levels. How much you're peeing out, how much your kidneys are filtering out, things like that. Potassium, on the other hand, works inside your cells to—
That's why sodium gives you amazing pumps in the gym. You have the sodium potassium pump, which I bet he'll get into some of that stuff right now, but it's really key for blood flow. And then in our electrolytes, we don't use that table salt. We use full spectrum salt. And yeah, sodium is sodium, but sea salt and pink Himalayan salt also have other trace minerals in there, so I think they're more beneficial.
Help produce ATP, the little energy molecules that help power your body. Potassium also works in your heart to make sure it's pumping normally. Too much or too little potassium, and you could start having heart problems and irregular rhythms. Calcium and magnesium play smaller but still important roles in your muscle contraction and brain function, keeping you mentally and physically sharp. So at the end of the day, it kind of seems like they're all important in their own right.
So if you've ever been doing a hard workout before and you just feel like you're sort of just like conked out, for lack of a better term, like you just like don't have the drive and energy, you might just be deficient in electrolytes. Your sodium potassium pump might not be functioning optimally, and that just makes you feel tired when you're just mildly like dehydrated, or basically you're not mineralized. But if you're like very deficient in them, we know you can die literally. If you have no potassium, you can die. But if you have no sodium, you can die. But for most people, they're just slightly, you know, underdosed in sodium, potassium, magnesium. And if they're drinking Prime, they're just gonna get a bunch of potassium, no sodium, it's gonna throw everything off.
Which ratio is the one we're aiming for in a sports drink? Well, remember the whole premise of a sports drink. It's to replace the electrolytes that you lose during exercise. That means that we don't need to worry about every electrolyte in the body. We only need to focus on the ones that we're losing during said exercise. And we're not losing them all at the same rate here either. The average person's sweat ratio of electrolytes is 220 milligrams of sodium for every 63 grams of potassium, 16 of calcium, and 8 of magnesium. That means that you're losing nearly 3.5 times more sodium at any given time.
Yeah, that's right. From all the studies I've looked at, obviously some people are gonna be different, but that's a pretty good summary right there. And again, calcium you should be getting through dairy, you should be getting through, you know, healthy vegetables you can get calcium from. And that's pretty much the ratio right there that you want to replenish when you're sweating. I do think you want to go a bit higher in sodium personally, but let's look at what they say.
Than any other electrolytes. And if you're doing the type of exercise that needs a sports drink, you need to find one that replaces sodium before worrying about anything else. Looking back at the ratios that we found across our sports drinks, it now comes down to which formula replenishes your electrolytes at the ratio closest to the sweat that you're losing. Knowing that, let's look at Prime. Sure, it has a ton of electrolytes, but none of them are the ones.
Hey, if they had Santa Cruz Paleo electrolytes in this video, this would win 100%. We have 1,000 milligrams of sodium, we have 200 milligrams of potassium, and we have 60 milligrams of magnesium in every single scoop.
That you need to be replacing. Prime is giving you a ton of potassium. This thing is practically a banana, but you don't really need potassium in the middle of strenuous exercise. At least you don't need it nearly as much as you need sodium. In your sweat, you lose sodium to potassium at a ratio of 3.5 to 1. But with Prime, you're giving your body 0.014 milligrams of sodium to 1 milligram of potassium.
This is very important to understand. You lose sodium when you sweat. I mean, taste your sweat. It's salty. These creators like Logan Paul don't want to make an electrolyte beverage that is optimal. They want to make one that tastes good and says it has a bunch of electrolytes, but really they just put some potassium in there. They don't put sodium, they don't put enough magnesium, and this results in an electrolyte beverage that's actually going to basically tip the optimal scale for your electrolyte balance in your body. Again, what you want is a salt-based electrolyte because that is the main electrolyte that you lose when you sweat. So yeah, 3.5 milligrams to 1 milligrams is what you lose in human sweat. Everybody's gonna be a little bit different, but that's a good summary right there.
Essentially completely missing the one electrolyte that your body needs the most while sporting. What about the other sports drinks on the block? Well, Body Armor's ratio is 0.05. It's actually very similar to Prime. BioSteel is at least a 1-to-1 ratio with the same sodium and potassium content. I suspect that they're all sacrificing the sodium because it keeps these drinks tasting sweeter. More sodium means a saltier flavor like the traditional sports beverage of Gatorade. Speaking of Gatorade, Gatorade and Powerade both have a...
And that's it right there. They want these drinks to taste sweet. I do not care about putting out a product that people always message me. They say, wow, it's a bit salty, but I feel amazing during my workouts. Yeah, no shit. That is what you lose when you sweat. I don't care about putting out a product that's just sweet, or I put so many artificial sweeteners in it, or sugar, that it's like, oh, this tastes really good. Not my goal. My goal is to put out a product that truly nourishes you, that actually replaces what you lose when you sweat so your performance goes up in the gym. It tastes amazing. I think it tastes absolutely delicious. But that's not my first intention. I'm not like, how do I create a product that tastes good? I would just sell you sugar water like so many of these companies do. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to sell actual electrolytes. So we're gonna summarize this video right here. There's like a couple more, another 30 seconds.
Astonishingly different ratios than these newer competitors, with Gatorade at a ratio of 3.4 sodium to potassium, and Powerade at the very top of the scale with 4.1 milligrams of sodium to potassium, both coming in shockingly close to the actual ratios of real-life sweat. This, in turn, makes them infinitely more effective than the other three options at actually doing what they say they're doing, replacing what you're...
The problem with Gatorade and Powerade, no magnesium, the wrong form, in my opinion, of potassium, form of sodium that doesn't contain trace minerals, and then obviously the additives. Blue one, artificial sweeteners in their sugar-free version, an immense amount of processed sugar, heavily processed sugar in their sweetened versions. So yeah, there's a good amount of sodium in there, that's cool, but what else you're getting in there is complete bullshit.
Body loses during exercise. Don't get me wrong, feel free to sprinkle your coconut water on whatever you want. It's great that a lot of these new sports beverages don't have the dyes and preservatives and all the added sugars.
So yeah, that's it guys, that's the goal. Replace what your body loses when you exercise. If they had Santa Cruz Paleo in this video, it would for sure win. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. That is what you want, and that is why so many weightlifters, athletes. We just had a buddy who's a pro surfer. He paddled from Molokai to Oahu in this challenge, and he used our electrolytes the whole way. We have bodybuilders like Kaysen. This dude's competing in a bodybuilding show, probably like now by the time you're seeing this. He uses our electrolytes daily. Why? Because they rehydrate you, they give you a really good pump, they prevent muscle cramping. If you want to try these out, look up Santa Cruz Paleo Electrolytes, get you some, and let me know how you like them. But yeah, Prime is bullshit. Logan Paul is lying to you. I'm sorry.